Okay, I think we are now live, but I'll just wait for a few people to join, make sure everyone's sort of gathered in and settled in the call before we sort of start and kick things off. What time are we? 10:59. We're a little early still. We'll let more people, gather, kick off maybe 11, minute past 11. Hello to everyone, the early birds that are joining us. Thanks for being here. Yeah, awesome. I can see it's filling up now. Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining. I'm just going to give it a minute or so, just see if we've got a few more people joining us today, and then I'll sort of kick it off and we'll get into the webinar. Perhaps make use of the chat bot, see where everyone's from today, where are you all tuning in from? Okay, awesome. I think that's a healthy number. I'm ready to sort of kick it off. So, hello everyone. Thanks for sort of joining us today. Appreciate you being here. My name is Leon. As a quick introduction, I'm a partnership account executive at Employment Hero, and I'm going to be your host slash mediator for today. So, fun facts about myself. This is my first webinar with Employment Hero. So I've got my fingers crossed that it all goes well for you, but I'm super confident today that we're going to be able to deliver a really good webinar with some of the guests that we've got joining us, which I'll sort of hold off on at the moment. But today we're going to be discussing sort of the 5 payroll mistakes UK SMEs keep making and most importantly, how we can fix them. So looking forward to spending time with you across the next 30 to 45 minutes. We kind of delve into these problems, show how we can fix them and put us all on the right track when it comes to payroll. So without further ado, I'd like to do a bit of an introduction to explain maybe the sort of the house rules and who's joining us today. So first and foremost, I'm joined by Danilo, who is a partner specialist and account executive at Employment Hero, who is going to be our hub of knowledge and resource today to guide us through these problems as I ask him, I'm sure, multiple questions as we go through. Danilo, before I introduce the rest, do you want to give us a quick hello, maybe a quick fun fact about yourself?
Hi guys, thank you for joining. Really happy to have everyone in the room together. I've been with the company for over 3 years now, dealing with a lot of SMEs problems throughout their growth related to payroll. So it'd be really good just to share some insights with everyone today. Thanks, Liam.
Awesome. And we also have Suzanne Gallagher and Alison Little operating in the background today. So if anyone has any questions, please make use of our Q&A function or probably chat bot in Zoom, and they'll be working to answer those questions as the webinar takes place. So please make use of them. They're going to be absolutely amazing answering your questions. Also worth noting, this session is being recorded. So if anyone's there with their notepad right now, desperately scrolling everything away to try and get it all in their head, don't worry. We will send you the recording post-event so you can kind of watch again a little bit later on to kind of more digest and get that information inside. And finally, it's probably worth noting for those with a more keen eye amongst us, there is a QR code in the top right-hand corner. If you were to scan that, you would get access to Employment Hero's free payroll offering and be entered in an event should you complete a payroll with us, where you can win £5,000, more than £1,000, £5,000, and a consulting session with Sarah Sharp from Payroll Ninjas, which I can tell you is absolute gold dust. If anyone's quickly reaching for their phone right now, don't worry. I'm sure that QR code comes up again later, so we'll be able to scan it and sort of get kicked off. But without further ado, let's get into the webinar and see what we've got in store. So just want to start with a big picture. Over 84% of businesses, UK businesses, admit that they make payroll mistakes every month. So that's huge, right? So Danilo, I'm going to bring you in now. You've worked closely with the sort of SMEs on payroll. Why are these errors sort of so common?
Cheers, Liam. Yeah, it's a good question. The really short answer is payroll is just complicated. It's more than just getting people paid on time. It's PAYE, national insurance, RTI submissions, pensions, starters, leavers. There's just a lot going on. The list just goes on. Employment law, different rules keep changing. When you combine that with the complexity and the fact that there are so many small businesses still running payroll on spreadsheets and just really relying on outdated processes is genuinely just a recipe for trouble. Spreadsheets are powerful and we still use them in our day to day, but they're just not built for payroll. It's so easy to mistype a formula, copy and paste something incorrectly. If you forget to update a spreadsheet, it causes version control issues and it just snowballs. If you add time pressure onto that, knowing that you have to pay your employees tomorrow, business owners may wear 10, 20 different hats. HR managers are juggling loads of manual work from onboarding to well-being, and then adding payroll onto that as well. So mistakes just become inevitable. Even if companies have the best intentions, business owners, small HR teams, they are stretched thin. Payroll ends up being squeezed in at the very last minute, and that's when mistakes can really creep in.
Yeah, because that's interesting, right? 'Cause I can see why that would be the case, but even if there was kind of less time pressure, what makes payroll mistakes so kind of persistent for SMEs?
Yeah, well, when you think about it, like small businesses, SMEs, they're facing a triple hit. There's constant changes of thresholds, codes, different payroll rules. There's the complexity of multiple worker types, pension duties, variable pay that can get very complex, and then manual work as well. Spreadsheets that we mentioned, duplicate records, more version control issues. So when the pay run happens under time pressure, these small slips become systematic and they become major repeating problems that snowball.
Yeah, and I suppose that kind of brings me on to my next slide quite nicely, which is kind of just exploring what does a simple payroll slip up really kind of cost the business, right? So do you want to kind of just expand on that?
Yeah, definitely. They can become very expensive really fast. It's something that often comes up in conversation for me essentially every day. There are financial costs. There's HMRC fines and penalties if you don't submit on time or if you've got it wrong. Then there's the time waste and the productivity waste of having to go back, unravel the numbers, rerun the payroll, and then even explaining it to employees. It can be really difficult conversations, have a negative impact on employee engagement. So these mistakes, they really do carry weight. So people are busy counting penalties. They might just be missing something more damaging, like the trust tax between their employees. You know, payroll errors can really chip away at employees' confidence in you and the company. Each error creates doubt. Employees will then start triple, quadruple checking their pay slips, and managers really feel these complaints. HR teams are putting out fires, and there just ends up being a bit of a morale dip that ends up being more expensive than often even the payroll process. So just imagine being a team member, opening up your payslip and seeing that you've been underpaid, even by £100. Even if you were to fix that for the employee, the trust in the business takes a bit of a hit. If it keeps happening, retention issues will just creep up. So even if payroll mistakes don't make an immediate dent to your bank account, they will eat away at the trust between you and your team. Once that's lost, it's really hard to get it back, and it ends up having a really long-term impact on the business eventually.
Yeah, I mean that makes total sense, right? Yeah, I mean, just curiously, to stop kind of making those errors, I suppose what would be the minimum lift that an SME would need to do to kind of lock in that reliability?
Yeah, it's quite straightforward, really. I'd say in order for a business to have a really trustworthy, compliant, accurate payroll process, it just needs to be repeatable with the same predictable steps every month, not just disjointed processes where people don't know who's doing what. It needs to be repeatable, and it needs to be traceable. So see who changed what, when, and why to stop any version control or communication issues. And then we just need to ensure that it's always up to date with new rates, thresholds, HMRC changes as well, which can be really difficult to manage manually or through spreadsheets. So you could just start with a single source of truth, stop duplicating employee data from HRIS to the payroll side, and just have one integrated solution, ensuring that you've got systemized inputs, so timesheets, expenses, benefits captured in a really structured way, so not just a piece of paper or free text in a spreadsheet. Having built-in checks as well with a tool like this, just to run the pre-pay run validations, it will spit out alerts if there's missing codes or incorrect NI numbers and things like that. And it will keep you on top of deadlines, automations for RTI submissions, pension assessment triggers, and things like that. So having all of these things in place, including the audit trail, just allows you to manage all of these changes and have a really smooth payroll process.
Yeah, that's nice. I think that was a good little introduction to the session today.
Mm.
Before we now jump into the five most common problems that we find, just want to sort of highlight again, please make use of the sort of QA bot that we've got to make use of Suzanne and Alison in the background. They are wizards when it comes to payroll. So if anyone has any questions regarding payroll, what we're discussing today, or maybe sort of slightly wider, please make use of it and they can sort of answer your questions today. So let's jump into it. 5 payroll mistakes and how to fix them. So first and foremost is PAYE and national insurance miscalculations. Danilo, can you talk us through what kind of typically goes wrong here?
Yeah, definitely. This one is very, very common. It usually starts with small things like an incorrect tax code for a new starter, maybe a bonus that was set up in the wrong tax category. Maybe there's a student loan or a benefit inclined. Maybe just a manual adjustment that didn't really line up with any national insurance rules. So if you're entering or overriding data manually, it's really easy to miss or even wrongly process these updates. And once that mistake is made, everything else flows from it, the wrong deductions, the wrong pay, HMRC letters, and then frustrated employees. Businesses will end up paying penalties, employees will be frustrated, it leads to extra admin burden. And the issue often happens because people are copying from spreadsheets, maybe pen and paper, skipping starter checklists or P45 code applications for these new joiners. Or they might even just create new pay items without even having a tax or NI map to it. The fix to do this is ultimately just to double, triple check that the details you got from new starters, P45s, national insurance numbers are correct and accurate. And then secondly, even just creating a standardized template, checklist for how you process pay elements. So you're not, just reinventing the wheel and sort of freestyling it every time. Thirdly, where you can, just let the payroll software handle calculations for you. There's no reason to be calculating legal tools manually and things like that. When you do it automatically through the system, it syncs directly with HMRC. Updates happen in real time, and it just removes the human error side of the payroll.
Yeah, that makes total sense. Yeah, nice, easy one to start with. I think that was super clear. Jumping into number 2 with no time wasted here. So RTI submission errors. This one to me sounds like one where kind of timing is maybe more critical, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly, yeah. So RTI stands for real-time information. That means that HMRC expects your payroll data up to date every time you pay your employees. So if you submit late or even with the wrong figures, HMRC will flag it immediately. And your people are still manually exporting files, rushing the process. It's just really easy to either miss a deadline or even just submit a wrong figure. So to avoid this, just mark your payroll deadlines really, really clearly in your calendar so nothing gets squeezed in last minute. Have a recovery process as well in place so that if you ever do miss a last minute submission, you can quickly correct it and document exactly what happened. And of course, the simplest option is just use a software that automatically submits to HMRC the moment that you finalize the payroll. It makes the RTI submission seamless, and then you don't even have to think about it. It just happens in the background. But yeah, that's exactly what our free payroll offering does. And this will be one of the easiest things that you can tackle automatically. You don't have to even do anything. The system will just submit to HMRC for you.
Yeah, that's a lovely plug there, and worth mentioning as well. The QR code for that free payroll offering will appear towards the end of the webinar, so get the phones ready to scan as and when it pops up. But the third one, this is what I'm actually really interested in because this seems like a bit of a legal minefield, right? So, what should kind of like SMEs and people watching today kind of watch out for here?
Yeah, it's definitely a tricky one. It definitely is a legal minefield. So worker miscalculation has always been a big one. If you get it wrong, HMRC can reclassify people and land you with backdated liabilities. This often happens when businesses bring in contractors, casual staff, seasonal workers, and they might not check their employment status properly. If we take IR35, for example, if you're treating a contractor like an employee without even following the right process, HMRC can retroactively demand tax and national insurance contributions. And then even comes up with casual staff like students, seasonal workers. Businesses often assume that seasonal workers may be exempt from certain rules or tax, even though they're not. So you might be copying your last hire from last year's setup who's in the exact same category, or even skipping status questions during your onboarding. But payroll automation just helps because it guides you through the correct classifications, it flags inconsistencies, and it ensures that records are always compliant. It just removes away all the guesswork and all of the risk. Otherwise, to avoid fines, and avoid the risk, you could just set up clear payment channels. Employees go through payroll, contractors go through accounts payable. So just don't blur the lines between them. You can just review contractor status really regularly, once or twice a year, because what starts as a really short-term engagement, it can drift into something else over time. And that's when misclassification happens.
Yeah, this is one that comes up for us kind of quite often. So I'm going to do another bit of a plug here. But the government's kind of changing these classifications kind of every now and then, right? And with big legal changes coming up through the Employee Rights Bill, if you are listening today, I kind of recommend you sign up for our upcoming legal webinar, which I believe is on the 24th of September, where our legal team will cover this in a bit more depth than what we've done today. So a good one to watch out for there. But moving on, error number 4, let's talk about pensions. So auto enrollment is mandatory, but a massive source of mistakes, right? So Danilo, take us away. Where are things going wrong here?
Yeah, so auto enrollment is mandatory, but we see a lot of SMEs missing staff eligibility or just applying to the wrong contribution rates as well. So the most common error is missing eligible employees. Maybe someone's just turned 22 or their earnings cross the threshold. Another issue is applying the wrong contribution rates. So you might only be assessing your employees at the highest stage, but not every time their pay patterns or variable hours change, or potentially mishandling postponement, not recording opt-outs properly, just maybe popping it in a spreadsheet and forgetting about it. So that happens quite often. And I also see employers accidentally using the wrong basis, like manually typing contribution percentages within each pay run. All these mistakes result in non-compliance and they damage employee trust. The thing is, manually keeping track of eligibility and thresholds, it is a nightmare, especially in spreadsheets. If something you struggle with, I'd really recommend looking at automations to help with this. My first recommendation would just be to look for a payroll software that will take care of all the eligibility checks. It will just run the payroll in the background so that nothing slips through the cracks. Employees then automatically enroll at the right time with the right contributions, meaning that you're always fully compliant, no stress whatsoever.
Okay, so just take into account kind of like busy SME leaders, right? I mean, what would be a sort of compliant, low effort auto enrollment process kind of look like for them?
Yeah, I think the main solution would just to keep a close eye on employees just below that threshold, schedule regular reviews, and just document everything so there's no guesswork. I'd say just do a 5-minute sense check, pull in a list of stuff just below the threshold. And then just review it. Has anybody crossed the threshold in recent months? Were they assessed if required to enroll? Are we following up and doing the right things, or are there a few mistakes there? So just really checking in and doing those regular reviews on your salaries and auto enrollments.
Nice. Thank you, Danilo. And look, we're flying through it. We're now on number 5 already, which I believe is starters and leavers. Yeah. So, Danilo, why is it kind of such a problem area too for SME businesses?
Typically, it's just a common problem because there are just multiple steps involved for onboarding and offboarding new employees. It's often really paperwork heavy. Starters need the right tax codes and NI details set up. Leavers need their final pay and holiday pay processed. They need P45s. They need submissions sent to HMRC. So where this falls down is when details are emailed around or copied into spreadsheets. Payroll ends up being typed up manually, and that's where the errors creep in. So if you miss a step, the employee's pay is wrong, his records don't match up, it just creates headaches for everybody. A lot of times, HR just send details by email, Excel spreadsheets, and the payroll team types it in manually one by one when they can. So if you just try and sample your last 3 leavers and just check if they had documentation on final pay calculations, did they have their P45s in a timely manner? So the fix here is just to use a single intake form for managers to capture all new starter details in one place, and then just have a really clear offboarding checklist for when they leave. And then when those dates are logged correctly, everything just falls into place and we can sleep easy at night. Again, though, automation just makes it completely seamless. You'll just enter the join date or the leave date. The system will update HMRC, it will generate documents, and it will apply the right tax codes automatically. Overall, it's just a big time and stress saver.
Nice. Yeah, thank you, Danilo. That was a really good rundown. Yeah, I'm learning a lot myself. So that was awesome to have you on today. So look, that kind of brings me into kind of the next slide, the next kind of idea here. So we've covered now the 5 common payroll mistakes that we see quite regularly within sort of SMEs. But to wrap it all together, you keep kind of mentioning automation as the best way to kind of fix these problems. Why is automation really the game changer here?
Yeah, it's just because it removes that weak link of the manual admin. Payroll is a rules-based process, so everyone makes mistakes under pressure, let's be honest, and automation applies those rules consistently over time. So there's no space for human error. It ensures compliance with HMRC. It handles all of the calculations in real time. It integrates with pensions, with HR, employee data. It just means that there are way fewer errors, there's less stress, and lots of time saved every month. I also think, quite importantly, it's if we let SME owners and HR managers just stop firefighting and start focusing on their people and their growth, imagine all the time and the positive impact that they would get.
Yeah, nice. I think that kind of symbiotic HR and payroll relationship is a big one for sure. So adding the automation as and where we can would be a big lift for SME businesses. Kind of get themselves away from these 5 problems that we've discussed today. So I mentioned a QR code earlier would reappear, and here it is. I'm not a liar. So before we wrap up, I just want to quickly touch on our free payroll automation via Employment Hero for everyone here today. So you can run payroll just a click, support compliance, and manage important tasks in one sort of easy workflow, ditching all the errors we ran through today. So by scanning this QR code, you'll be entered into an exclusive prize draw to win £5,000 in cash for your business, plus a personal payroll consultation with a senior specialist, Sarah Sharp, over at Payroll Ninjas, which I cannot stress enough is massive. It's the chance to get payroll right with expert support and maybe even a nice cash injection for the business. So if you want to scan that code now, we'd love to help you run payroll with confidence and without the stress. I know Suzanne and Alison have also been busy in the Q&A, answering some great questions throughout the session. So if you have any left or yours has not been answered, by all means, reach out to myself or Danilo and we can help you find the answers that you've been looking for. And please also hang around for the survey that will pop up and let us know what your thoughts of today's sessions were. We love the feedback. And we hope to see you soon again at the next legal update on the 24th of September or at one of our other webinars. So Danilo, thanks for joining us today. Alison, Suzanne, thanks for being with us in the background. And thanks everyone for joining today. And again, the recordings will be shared with you sort of post this call. So don't worry, if you want to watch it back, you absolutely can do. But yeah, thanks for jumping on, everyone. See you again soon. Cheers.